Greetings. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Doing all right? So, want to see our new setup?
Ooh, looks like you have a GoPro.
A couple of them. I have a couple of faux pros. Yes.
Hey, are high def?
This one's 4K. That one's high def.
Okay. Sweet.
So at some point it thinks it's fitting high def input, even though the camera itself is only 640 by 480.
Ah.
But so I need to turn this down.
So how have you been?
I'm doing all right. So camera set up there. We had a sale for $40 for 4K.
Okay.
Not all the more. So it does 4K. And then the small one there, I got that off for like $20 off Amazon. It's heavy on quotation. Cool. So, I was running an audio from one tripod there, and then have the natty microphone. So when I switch scenes, transition from one to the other, and disable the other microphone so I can set the volumes of the pin up there.
Nice. And also pick up what you want to pick up rather than.
Yeah, so I have an option.
Might want to look at a directional one.
Well, I got a condenser mic there. It's a natty. And those work pretty good. I mean, you get good quality out of them. It's all USB, which means I can pull it into the laptop, no problems. I don't have to go through any weird ditches.
Hey, good. How are you? Good seeing you. I've seen you around. I can catch your name. I'm Nathan.
Travis.
Travis. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So who are you on Slack then?
Just talking about street.
That's good.
I'm upping my cheap ass game.
Very good. So what do you do? What'd you do?
So got a 4K GoPro. And then, so that supports webcam, which
getting fancy.
So, are we going to actually be able to see the speaker then? We
Yeah.
should, right? At 4K?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
You can see the blob.
The blob.
It won't spontaneously flicker into night vision mode or anything like that.
Roll in for lights aren't going to be kicking on.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. Nice work.
Just transition over and you know how you have the webcam trick where you put on like helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
Have antlers and a deer and switch to the night vision mode.
That would be funny. Camera goes in night vision mode, speaker puts on amp. That'd freak out anyone that's watching it.
I was actually thinking it'd be too hard to set it up in OBS, but you can almost get really close to it with your software there.
Yeah. So
That's nice. That's really cool.
anyway,
It's good progress. And they're powered, right?
well they're powered off of USB. So.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have
Alex
power.
runs his camera off battery, which always concerns me, but it's like it lasts, it works.
Well,
So,
the Garmin will last one of our races and still have some battery life left over. And that's an hour race. So, yeah.
race for what?
Race electric vehicles.
Or do you,
Like really small Power Wheels.
But originally when we were thinking of doing this, I wanted to do really good cameras, but we could either set up post back there where we can get good audio, or we could move up here and try to get our own audio. But the trick is that it's the long distance between.
The throw.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have our audio is tied back there, but we have to have the cameras up here, and so we tried doing 100-foot runs of.
XLR.
No, well, even XLR is going to have problems with this distance.
I was wondering if you guys ever
We
tried
haven't
that.
tried it. He tried it with a monitor, and he said he had problems, but that was mostly just trying to drive it.
Yeah.
Distance.
Well, I'm driving XLR, but with a wireless mic. Upper run, I think, is 140 feet. So, but actually, yeah, that is XLR right now. I haven't changed that over yet.
Let's walk it out.
That would be the very logical next step. Would be the direct feed off the board, and then after
Well-
that, then you take your.
My question is why? Because,
Really, the sound's so much better.
but add a second mic up there.
Then you got to have another board. I mean,
Or-
that's true. Second, but people handhold sometimes. I mean,
That's a Shure, correct?
I think so. But yeah.
You can have more than one receiver on a Shure.
Oh no, that would do it.
Because I have three Shure receivers and one mic. Joel, got one for you. Get the same Shure receiver that microphone's using.
And then
Tune it in.
piggyback off. But that's
It's a lot of money.
True. Well,
or get an SDR and hack the frequency. I mean, it's
I don't know. I don't know if you can hack that.
it's digital. You can do it.
I don't know. I'm not a radio guy. I've never seen it done.
I'm just gonna say it's possible, but in
Practical.
non-committal format.
Well,
His voice just kind of trails off. And
Well-
possible.
the reason why I was saying an extra receiver is because that's what I do at work. I have a receiver on every floor, so if someone's going from floor to floor with a microphone, it syncs
Yeah.
all the way up.
So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Does make sense. That's the problem, Joel. When you make small little steps, there's always so many more you can do.
fall out of the way. Or you might lose the toe. Anyway, yeah. And actually, for your prizes,
Alex. I wasn't going to be here tonight. I was supposed to be traveling, and my trip didn't work out. So Alex has it. See, he didn't ask what that means, so hopefully he's been following the conversation.
Okay.
Only 2 talks. Ginsburg on news and Aaron on Ginsburg on 101 and Aaron on news. So
Sweet.
I got a question. How much does it cost to normally do the food here?
Sponsorship's $3K,
3K?
and I think food is
Oh, it's 3K for the sponsorship and food's above that?
no 3K for the sponsorship, and then food's a section. Then like the club handles the food.
Okay.
So, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's the number that comes to mind. To sponsor SecKC, I think it's $3 grand.
We were talking prizes for collecting names. Do prize levels for how much your person sponsors. And say if the person sponsors this much, this prize, so on and so forth.
We gotta go.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, the facility isn't that expensive.
Well,
I
are we?
think drinking pizza is less than $1 grand.
So, are we renting the facility and
No. Well, we just have a deal where
they get the sales of
They
the
get the
drinks,
sales.
and they're making
Yeah, I was gonna say,
bank.
the facility isn't is little or nothing from what Alex said.
Yeah.
that's a good place to be.
Yes. But
You and I know that for certain.
Yes.
It is a good place to be.
They put 3 people. They have 3 staff members here at least usually. So
they're doing pretty good sales for having 3 people here, and they're probably making good tips too. So they want to work it.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, I would hope so.
So
But the fact that it's the same 2
yeah,
every single time, to me, says they are making good tips, or that you wouldn't see the consistency.
either that or that's the only bartenders they have. I mean, I would hope they have.
I hope it's the former.
So anyway,
Cool. I think the sponsors are out there. We just gotta find them.
like I said, let's data mine business cards.
Get them on your business cards. So what do you do, Travis? What's your
I'm the IT manager for the casino. So
jack of all trades?
yes,
Is there a lot there? Like a lot to manage? Because like everything's internet connected now, right? So
every over. Well, we're class
crazy
2.
camera systems.
I don't do that. That is a totally different department. No, I'm in class 2 environment, so all my slot machines are interconnected. So I got like 12 different vendors I have to deal with and network them all out to the floor. Past couple years, I got it under control. It was, okay, where does this people go? Move. Yeah. It's like, why don't you use VLAN? Huh?
Flat's nice, right? Flat.
Well, vendors are like, no, we can't do that. Watch me. And I moved them over. I'm the only other casino that does it.
Really?
Yeah.
That surprises me.
We can't even have like Fort Scout counteract. I can't put it on
me to poke the sound guys? Poke the sound guys?
Check, check. So Brian.
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah. If I just stay back here, will everybody be happy? Fucking speakers. Hold on, where is Archwood? Okay. I just want to make sure you didn't have a stick. Last time you beat me with a stick. Hey, it's 2018. Everything's upgraded. Except for CPUs. But bones. All the bones. Welcome to SecKC. How you guys doing? That was fucking pathetic. How you guys doing? That's a little bit better. This is a special night. Even Corey came back tonight. Everyone say hi to Corey. Bye, Corey, your band. Welcome to SecKC. How many of you guys have been here before? You guys been here before? Okay, get out. Who all is this is the first time? Very nice. All three of you guys come here together? It's very nice. Cute couple. This is SecKC. It's the largest information security gathering in the world. Known from coast to coast like butter and toast. Check it out. If you don't believe me, then prove me wrong. This organization has been around for 5 years. This organization has been around for 6
Years. I think I missed a meeting. I should probably change that slide. Let's blame Julie for that. So we've been around for 6 years, but we could not have been around for this long without helping out with our sponsors and our volunteers. So why is it getting louder? So if you guys see a sponsor, if you guys see a volunteer, shake them on the back, pat them on the head, buy them a drink. Also, anybody who has the opportunity to say thank you to the sponsors, tell them we do appreciate it, and they make this stuff happen. So
We need sponsors!
we
Sponsors!
also need sponsors. Also, you guys make this happen. Anytime that we have a meeting, anytime you want to come to SecKC, we need to know how many of you people are coming so there's enough pizza and I don't eat it all. So hit up the Eventbrite space, make sure we know who all's coming here so we can get adequate preparations done.
Where do I sign up?
It's the Eventbrite thing. Also on Slack? No, I don't know. So anywhere in the email, you can go to seckc.org if you want to go through and look for the calendar. On there, you can go to the Eventbrite space, and they will let you log all the tickets and do all the things.
You're just trying to steal my identity.
Please steal Jared's identity. It's actually kind of fun being him. I get to pretend I know Splunk. So
All in a day's work.
all days work. This community is really what we are kind of all about. It is a community. We work off of each other. We give ideas to each other. We haze each other. We give each other shenanigans. But it is a community because everyone reaches out. Everyone here is accessible. If you have an idea about something and they know more about it, talk to them. Meet somebody new tonight because that's what this is. We want to instill the hacker culture and the open mind frame. We want to instill actually people working together to go through and make this a more habitable place for information security and everything else. That's what this space is. So if you have a question about something, it's not dumb. Because I've asked so many questions, and they still let me keep doing this shit. So
And
you
they
can't beat my dumb questions.
They would all be close to being very dumb.
They would all be close. I've almost been banned so many times. Teach and learn from others. Same thing. We want to make sure that while you guys are here asking questions, if you have an idea for a talk that you want to go through and give at another conference, this is an awesome breeding ground for that type of stuff, to work out the kinks and get all that stuff out in the open, see how it works, see how it plays, ask other people to go through and review it, work on the mic skills, all that stuff.
Eat the mic!
Eat them. I can't do that. We do have a Slack channel because everyone has a Slack channel now. We started it first. So join the Slack channel. There are a ton of conversations going on in Outhouse, Random, and SecOps. That's all you get. Actually, there's a lot of stuff about job placement. There's a lot of stuff for DIR. There's our own cryptocurrency stuff that I'll get to a little bit later. But there is a ton of information in there. There's a lot of free literature from library type things that we steal from Pact and put in there. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about that, join the Slack channel. It's on the SecKC.org site, or somehow there's a Google group that I keep getting emails from. People asking me to add them to the Slack group. So send me your email, your social security number, some other information, and I'll get you in the Slack group there.
You want my mother's maiden name as well?
No, I have that. I've got that.
What about my father?
No, I need your father. Yeah, his maiden name. Like I said, this is just one of the benefits of being in the Slack group is that there are jobs that are being posted all over. Not just in the Kansas City area, but there are remote positions. There are things that come in here from talkers, from speakers, from other people around the United States. We have a relationship with Trusted Sec and Binary Defense. There's some other stuff that's been posted in there before. So even if you're wanting to do remote work, checking this is another thing that you can kind of help out your career-wise. It's not just fun and cat pictures.
What?
I know. We do encourage shenanigans. This is a hacker mindset community. We want to make sure that things are being tested. But at that point, we love Kansas Whole, and we don't want them to fucking kick us out. So these are the three main rules. Destroy no data, maintain no persistence, and among all, do no harm. Those are the things that we have to abide by to continue to stay at this space. So we ask that you do that, or you're banned.
Been drinking too much.
No more drinks. Meetings are underrated or not rated. You can bring people who are underage and bring people who are overage, but just know that this is a free and open space. There's no censorship, and we are not going to be able to make it worse for people. Sorry.
Are you going to be okay?
It was not built for a big guy. That's all I'm saying. Be the change that you want to see at SecKC, meaning if you have an idea, there is a suggestion box. You want me to go back. Archibald's telling me to go back. I can't see the thing there. There is a suggestion box, so if you guys have a question, if there's something else you want to go through and see here, if there's a talk that you would like to give, please go through and be vocal about it. We only survive here because we have new and innovative things happening every single month. There are lockpicking challenges. There are people that bring in Class 4 body armor. There are so many different things that happen between the years here that you will not be the first to probably give it up. But if you have something you want to do, let us know.
Did you say full plate body armor?
Full plate? Level 4? I can't talk today. All right, there is a code of conduct because unfortunately now in this day and age it has to be a code of conduct because people are shitty. Anyone who has one of these yellow badges right here, if you see somebody who needs to be dealt with or if there is a problem, please, we want this to be a safe environment. Make sure that you reach out to somebody. If you have any questions, the code of conduct stuff is up here on the Slack or on the website as well. So just take cover of that.
Hey!
It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's supposed to be like that.
Shenanigans are encouraged?
Physical security hack. Again, like I said, we do encourage shenanigans, but we want to make sure that we give everybody their opportunity. It's not easy to be up here talking in front of all these lights and fuck up all this stuff. So if you want to have a conversation, you're more than welcome to. We just ask that you go behind the boulevard wall, or how it's colloquially known as the shut the fuck up wall. That's back over there. But we want to give everybody who's up here their due so you can make sure that they actually have the chance to go through and get what they're trying to do. Everything good? All right. So, yeah, if there's still talk going on or if you guys are having a conversation, people will push you towards the back there. Just be aware of that because it's happened to me a lot.
Twice.
More than twice. All right. Like I said, we do have our own SecKC coin, the Sec coin. It is a fork off of Litecoin. It was pretty much taken over by SecDSM there for a while in regards to the mining and stuff. It is an opportunity for us to go through and reward people in the Slack channel and to purchase swag, to tip people out, to go through and do all the cool things you can do with cryptocurrency but not actually give any hard-earned money. So it's fun. But there is a way to go through and mine it. There are people that are really interested in the blockchain technology. So if you have any interest in that, that is yet another thing that we offer here at SecKC. So check that out.
Yay, blockchain!
Yay, blockchain! I like blockchain. I don't care what you guys. Oh, yes, okay. It's time to play Spot the Fed. I'm just pointing random people. There are state and federal agencies that do come. They do speak. They do appear in the crowd. There was 2 Overland Park police officers outside when I got here. I didn't do that.
Lies.
But we maintain no persistence in regards to anything with event rights. We don't have anything in regards to a list of active users in regards to the Slack group. We have our own VPN, which has 1 password and 1 username. So we do not have the ability to give anybody information. If said VPN went tits up and people were doing phishing stuff a month ago or something like that. Like I said, we want to make sure that you guys are engaged in anything that we can do to make this better, anything that we can do to make this a more friendly environment. And guys and gals, we're going to show for you. You guys asked for it, and we did it. Strippers!
Yay! Woo! Take it all off!
Yeah, all that wire. I was supposed to take these actually out, and Julie even made a comment. She was like, remove these in the next KC. So I thought it's funny.
You can't tell me what to do.
I can't. You outrank me, I guess, huh? So this is where you guys are. This is the agenda for the evening. This is the 101. After this, we'll be doing the open source intel brief. Just kind of let you guys know about what's going on in the industry. If there's any happenings, things that are interesting to you. After that, we're going to go through and have Brian or Archwist get up here talk about reverse engineering. And then we're finishing up with a 4-part series of active domain. And this one actually should be fairly interesting just because everything is actually getting owned this time. So not to say that any other stuff wasn't. Everything else was awesome. He's a great speaker, and this is a 4-part series that he's given. So just the fact that he did 4 separate talks up here to go through and give up AD control and stuff is amazing. But this one looks like my favorite. So yeah, that's it. That's SecKC. If you guys have any questions, find somebody with a yellow badge. Otherwise, have a good night.
Woo! Put it this way, we let him come back 3 more times.
Music.
What about the news?
Got somebody seeing everybody else get pizza and I'm
You're denied. There is no pizza.
Check. I do eat the mic, if levels need to be adjusted. Hello, everyone. Whoa, shit. Yes, levels need to be adjusted. I'm back. I'm back. Oh, I've been eating it. That's all I do. All right, we're going to do this Ignite format again. 15 seconds a slide. This time they're moving automatically. So let's see if I can keep up or not. I got another 7 seconds or so. My name's Aaron Scantlin, for those of you who don't know me. Come say hi to me later on. I want to meet new people. New people are here. All right, first and foremost, we've got a breach involving FedEx customer information. The report says that thousands of customer records were affected. Well, that wasn't bad enough. Someone actually figured out a day later that their domain lookup tool is vulnerable to trivial command injection, and it also runs as root. This is how you say, woo, lad. A financial services ISEC employee got phished. The CEO said, I would classify this as a typical routine non-targeted account harvesting and phishing. This should just be a sobering reminder that this can literally happen to anybody, and also good on them for not saying this was some advanced APT threat. This is a new combo jack as a malware. This is ingenious, by the way. It looks for crypto wallets in your clipboard and replaces it with an attacker-controlled wallet. That is ingenious. All those wallet addresses are long as hell. Not many people are going to pick up on that. So there is this cushy relationship with Geek Squad and the feds. We all agree, hopefully, that Geek Squad should notify the feds if they find shit like child pornography. The thing is that apparently some Geek Squad employees have been doing some overzealous searching. Like apparently some CP was found and damn it. So Putin will not allow people to be extradited. Damn. Not going to get too political on this, but this does have implications for bringing computer criminals to justice. Not that we had much effort, not that we had much luck doing that over there anyway. But so Olympic Destroyer, that was a thing. Some dick made it just to destroy stuff. What is this, like the 90s? A bunch of people decided that they would be able to perform attribution on this malware. Turns out they actually couldn't, and it was just riddled full of false flags. Meh, who knew? Hot on the tails of deep fake, we have deep voice. It can also add or remove an accent from some voices, which is terrifying. The picture is unrelated, but it is of Barry White, who has a deep voice. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the FBI, once again, is looking for a special way to break the encryption on your devices in certain special situations that only the government can use. In other news, the FBI still doesn't understand how encryption works. This is a really cool blog post about from Microsoft talking about Windows Defender, so it's a little bit biased, but they were able to stop about 80,000 infections of this Trojan that was going to cause those compromised hosts to do crypto mining. Fuck, they stopped another 400K. This is an interesting piece on how devastating malware infections on advanced and expensive robots can be. Think the ones that are like fixing cars and doing all this crazy stuff that have faces and stuff. Most can only be repaired by their maker, which is really kind of shitty. Let's see, Chrome is about to mark all HTTP sites as insecure. That is happening this year in July, if I'm not mistaken, not just sites with sensitive inputs. Hooray, privacy! This is a good thing, or it should be viewed as a good thing anyway. Man, my timer's lagging a little bit. We've got a 90-page document on Metasploit here. The easiest guide you'll ever read, it says. Goes through setting up a lab, walking through using Metasploit. I'm a blue team person. I hope to learn more about Metasploit, and I plan on using this. I haven't yet, but it gets a lot of good reviews, so it must be great. This is a clickbait article name, but I was previously unfamiliar with, right-to-left override. So using right-to-left override, you can actually see here how this malicious JavaScript file is renamed to what appears to be a PNG file. Ooh, sneaky, sneaky. Between March 1 and March 2, the email service Tutanota, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, was unavailable on Comcast network due to them blocking it. Comcast has not explained their reasoning for this. That is an encrypted email service, so who knows? Researchers released LTE Inspector, which is a framework for testing 4G LTE networks. There are 10 attacks that are detailed in LTE Inspector, and these all allow for authentication relay attacks. They sound bad. Look them up. They're bad, in my opinion. So the news story that I wanted to show here was the top one. South Korea's cryptocurrency regulator fraud found debt at home. The second one was one I found actually while I was looking for a picture for this one. South Korea regulators now consider reversing the ICO ban report. That's shady as fuck. A New York City resident was ordered to turn off their Bitcoin miner after the FCC figured out that it was interfering with T-Mobile's wireless network. And yeah, I know, right? Some people, man. This is why you can't get a GPU anymore. There's some nasty Samba vulnerabilities that were disclosed late yesterday, early this morning. I don't even fucking remember anymore. The password reset has to be done via Active Directory. The denial of service is fair game on all operating systems, though. There was yet more discussion released about WPA 3. No true technical details were released. However, there was a blog post that some cat wrote up about some details that they can infer from NIST's discussion about it. Kali on Windows is a thing now. And I mean, I played with it a little bit. It's cool, but yeah, that's it. Thank you. You have to download all the shit. That's why, man. Let's see some more GitHub repos. So, privileged access workstations. These are all things that we should be using in our daily lives when we are administering resources. But how do you make a privileged access workstation? This GitHub repo aims to answer that question for you. The 2.0 version of the probable word lists document has dropped as well. These are sorted by use in probability. Again, these are things that we need to be checking. If our users are using password 123 and you know you've got some asshole in your org that's doing that, you need to know what the hash looks like and be able to figure it out. Finally, we talked about the k-anonymity thing before I got cut off there. This is a really short and sweet shell script to allow you to check to see if a password has been compromised using the k-anonymity API. And that is the news.
Yeah.
Can you
Well,
save that out?
I have a copy of it locally, and then
We need to tweet that out because that news is gold.
yeah. Damn.
Hey, we have a winner. I think that's good enough. Okay, repeat it.
It pauses the program and/or processor so you can take a look at it and fiddle with it.
All right, give that man a reach in the Corey sack.
I'm over here.
sorry sock.
Ow! Throw it back. It's a knife. Yes.
Okay, so that is a correct answer, but not a complete answer. So it does pause the application. It's one of the things it can do and allows you to see what's happening. One of the other things it can do is allow you to step through instructions one at a time. Right? You're looking at what it's doing as it's happening, and it allows you to see the memory. Probably the more fun thing that it allows you to do is actually modify the execution of the application as it's running. Okay, so that's really fun for when you're in the midst of it and you're kind of looking at what's happening. We're going to take a look at this in a little bit. You can see what happens when that instruction's going to do that and it wants to go there. But what if I do this and make it do something else? Right? What can we make it do? So let's get into it. You guys want to see what a debugger looks like?
Yes! I had to crush it.
All right.
Wait, hold on.
Yay! Round of applause for Bill.
Wait, did you answer it right, though?
He answered the question.
Hey,
All right.
you have to put that shirt on right now.
I don't think it's gonna fit.
All right. So earlier, you may have seen my Twitter post earlier where I announced I was going to do no slides. But Aaron, a friend of ours, responded and sent me a picture that I couldn't resist. So I'm going to have one slide for tonight.
I knew it.
So this is it. Welcome to SecKC.
Secure it.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, that's the best slide you could possibly put up. So
Is that
there we go. That's our slide for tonight. You can prove to your boss that you were here and you watched the talk and you learned something. You learned secure it at SecKC. And I think that's Bill's fingerprint, so take a picture real quick before it goes away. All right, let's get going. First thing is you may notice that this is a Windows machine running on a Mac because you can do debugging stuff in a Mac, but for our purposes, I wanted to use some open source tools. Well, free tools. They're not really open source, but free tools so everybody can kind of get an idea of how this works, and you can go and try it when you get home. Next thing I want to set the stage for is that the example that we're using in this talk is from the Flare-On competition. It's an annual competition they do every year. They have a whole bunch of reverse engineering challenges, and I just did it for fun, had a couple of hours, and one of these came out, and I was like, hey, let's do a follow-up talk. We've been talking about doing this follow-up talk for a while, and I thought this was a perfect example to walk us through kind of the techniques that we're going to use to learn to take that next step. Remember, I mentioned earlier, we are not here to learn the solution to this challenge. We're here to learn the techniques that I would use as a professional when I'm taking a look at an application or given an application and said, okay, go, right? You need to know how to start. And Corey showed you, okay, how do you load it up in a debugger? What are sort of the things you want to kind of look at? But when you get into a more complex application, what are the things we're going to start doing? And that's what we're going into here. And we're going to actually solve this challenge tonight, all right? So if you get bored, shout at me. If I see you dozing off, I'm going to shout at you or ask questions. Does everybody sound happy with that?
Your password sucks.
Yeah. These VMs. These VMs are free, by the way. If you go on to Microsoft's website, if you're a person who does what I do, we need to set up clean VMs all the time. And we don't want to pay for a license for every one of those machines or even keep, all that crap around because we've got to test all the different kinds. So you go onto Microsoft's website on Edge or something like that, and you download the thing and you put it on there and it runs for 90 days. No cost at all. So I recommend you do that if you're doing this kind of stuff. Is what? You got something to say, man?
Give him the mic, make him say it.
All right.
Grilling us.
Okay, so let's get started. The Ignite Me executable is one of the things that the Flare-On Challenge gave you. So when I first get started looking at one of these applications, trying to figure out what the heck to do with it, I just like to run it and use it and get an idea for how it behaves. The reason for that is because it will affect the way that you go about looking into what it's doing, right? If you run the application and it does nothing on the screen, well, then you've got some more interesting things to do. Are you going to dig through processes? Are you going to look for network connections? Is it going to prompt you for information, or is it going to listen for a network connection? All those things are things that you want to know when you're starting to reverse these applications. So fortunately for us, in this case, you run the application and it prompts you for some information, right? And right away we can try just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I like to use 8 A's because I know what the hex code for that is. And run it, see what happens. Oh, it disappeared, right? So next thing is we'll run it from the desktop. All right, we'll give you the flag. We'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, failed. Okay. So now we have some idea of what this thing does. It's prompts you for a flag and it stops. Really simple, right? So now what do? Let's close it and open up our debugger and see what happens. Fortunately for me, I've already done this, so it's right here in my drop-down list. Do you want me to go to the desktop?
Yeah!
Yes.
Desktop.
Yes or no? Hands up for yes.
Desktop.
All right. We'll go to the desktop. We're going to hit the open button, and we're going to scroll down to it and open up this application. Yay, it worked!
Hey!
What do I get?
What did you do?
Okay, so we ran the application. Woo! We got
Good
it
job.
in the debugger. Okay,
We
so
are hackers!
this is important.
I'm
Okay?
in.
So some applications will crash at this point because they detected that you have a debugger attached to them. That is a much, much different talk. We're not there yet. Okay, we're still getting started.
Is that next month?
No.
Is that the next slide?
Okay, so next thing is that I'm using the Immunity debugger here. It's free. You can download and install it. This is not my endorsement of this product. There are other debuggers. You might have heard of IDA Pro. You've heard of Hopper. You've heard of Bit Ninja or whatever the Ninja one, the new ones are. They have a lot of other variously costed or priced. Costed isn't a word, is it? It's priced,
It is
variously
now.
priced licenses.
At SecKC, it's a word.
Costed it.
Okay, we're going to call it costed from now on. But this is just one of the tools that you can use. This talk is not a here's the tool you need to use. This is a way to do it. Remember we're focusing more on the technique as far as understanding how the application works, the places you need to go, right? So one of the cool features that Immunity actually provides is that I've loaded up the application in the debugger. The first thing that I like to do is click this little button that says graph the application. Okay, this is actually pretty cool because immediately I get to see all the instructions that this application runs from what's called the entry point. That's a keyword that you want to remember. Any application has an entry point. That's where it starts its execution, and then as a reverse engineer, you got to kind of figure out where that's at in a lot of cases. And in some cases, as I mentioned, it might be a network connection that it's listening. That's the point where it's always reestablishing what it's doing. In this case, we have a really basic application, so it starts pretty much at the beginning when the first main function is called. But if you scroll through here, you can see Immunity is actually really helpful. It tells us, hey, here's this ASCII value, give me the flag, right? And we saw that when we ran the application. Remember that?
Yes.
What happened, who can answer this, what happened when we entered our data?
It exited.
Evaluated it.
It didn't move to the next step.
What did it do? Not what didn't it do,
It
what did
waited.
it do? It waited. After we typed in the data, what did it do?
It failed.
It failed, right? Okay, give that man a grab into Corey's sack.
Oh man.
He's right here.
All right, so
Dig deep.
if we scroll down a little bit, we see, okay, give me the flag, and then you have on one side here, we have this ASCII value, not too hot, are we? Try again, please. This was the branch that we took, right?
A mug?
On the other side, if you look right over to the right to the other side, the other option is it can tell you good job, right? I think that's where we want to go, right? Do you guys agree? You want to go to the failure or the good job side? Do you think that's where it's going to get us to the end of this challenge is if we get it to pop, good job.
Well, I guess this is the end of the talk.
All right. We'll speed this up. I'm going to need a fan after that. All right. So let's take a look. Right. We're going to give you a first look at the debugger. We're going to relaunch this application.
Can't wait till I need to give a talk.
Right.
It's good.
And actually, let's go back real quick. When you're looking at these applications, we're not going to focus too much on the assembly instructions themselves on every single one. We'll talk about the important ones and we'll talk about some of the techniques later on. But in this case, I'm going to jump to a technique for you, is that when I am looking for a solution to doing one of these things, I like to work from the end as where I can find out where it's trying to make a decision and work my way back, right? So in this case, we have this jump short that either jumps you down to you failed, or it passes on to this other one where you did a good job, right? So just before that, though, we see this test instruction that happens. So what this is doing a bitwise AND comparison. I'm not going to explain exactly what that is. But it basically compares two values and determines, it sets a flag, right? And then the next value says, okay, jump if they matched, essentially, is what was happening. JE is jump if equal. So what we care about in this case is, well, what happens to these values just before here that is causing it to either pass or fail, right? So that's where we want to start digging in. So if we look at this 00401050, is a memory address inside of the application. It's an offset. So we're going to go take a look at that and try to figure out what's happening. So as we open up our CPU instruction screen here, this is the entry point. So you'll see all the same calls that were shown in there. And if we keep going down, we'll see call to that one, that 401050, and then we have the test, and then we have that jump short, right? Looks exactly the same as what we just saw. Right? Everybody agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so the first thing that I'm actually going to do is take a look and show you what that test function looks like. So first thing, we'll set a breakpoint right on that test call. By the way, as
Rickson.
No, Rasovax, or however you pronounce his name.
Wow.
Anthrax. There you go. We get to pause the instruction. So breakpoint is a point you set in the code. It runs down, the application will run until it hits it and then stop, right? It allows you to see what's happening. The beauty of that is that you don't have to hit this little step in button on every single instruction and follow in, and Corey showed how to do this in GDB, I believe, back in the day. So we're going to execute this program, which just looks like that. It's going to prompt us with a flag. You can see we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason I use as I mentioned, is it's OX41, and I like to use 8 input bytes because that generally perfectly aligns with a byte boundary, or the memory lines here. So you've got 8 bytes. When you see it show up in memory, it'll line up perfectly. So it's just a quirk thing, and I'll change the values as we get further in. But
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. So you're using that 8 A's as a flag inside the memory to go through and kind of see where this is. Almost at it.
A little bit farther, but okay. You'll get to a point where when we look at the memory that gets put in there, we can see clearly where it gets stored.
Okay. Okay.
So, and we'll look at that. So I'll just use it, as basically a locator, right? And there are some more complex or sophisticated ones, like the Metasploit has a pseudo-random generator that will do it to a specific byte range, and if you can copy the specific 4 bytes or 8 bytes out of the memory segment, it'll actually tell you exactly the offset, rather than you having to figure it out manually by manipulating the stuff. So again, other tools, but for now we're going to focus on this. So we've typed in our input. We haven't hit our breakpoint yet. So hit go. I gotta hit enter after I enter. So we're gonna hit go, and we're gonna have to do that again because I failed. Okay, hit run, type in our input, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, enter. We're at our test instruction here, okay? And we can see that it tests EAX, EAX, and it jumps short. And if we step in, because this is where that function is handy, we can see that we get to the jump short, and if we execute that next function, we'll just run from here. It fails, right? And just as if we had run the application outside of the debugger, but we can see exactly what's happening in that case. So we're going to run it again, but what we're going to do instead this time is we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, same input, hit enter. We're at test EAX, test EAX. Now, one of the things that the debugger allows us to do in this case is modify the memory, as I mentioned. So we can test our hypothesis about whether or not this is the function we're interested in, right? Who wants to do that? All right. Any suggestions? Do we want to put in zeros here again, or 1, or 2, or...
Fire. Maybe
Say fire.
All right, we'll put in a 3. Let's see what happens. And now we're going to run it. Hey, we won!
Yay.
It said good job. But really, if you're in a CTF or in a challenge in this case, you got to the end of the execution, but they're going to ask you for a flag. Well, what did you put in there to make that happen? So what you need to know in this case is that, yeah, okay, we got this thing to execute successfully. We got to the end. But we haven't gotten the sensitive data that we would put into the application. So if you went and did this, so in a case where you have an application that performs a license check, if you're able to do this, you just passed it. You got to the end, right?
Excuse me, sir.
Hey, Corey, do we have a tradition here?
We have a tradition here at SecKC. If you do a reverse engineering talk, you gotta do a shot.
Woo!
Thank you for that. Oh, that should actually make this easier. All right, let's have some more fun.
Good job.
All right, good job. Yeah. All right, so we got past that point. So, like I said, if this is license check, you just won. You got to run your, $5,000 software for free because you got past that check. But as I mentioned, that's not the end of this. We need to figure out what the application is doing to hide the data that we want to put in there, right? So we're going to go back and look at our graph, our call graph. Actually, let's restart the application so we can get back to the beginning. Our call graph here, remember, we said we just tested out the EAX. We verified that this is the point where it determines whether or not we pass or fail. So what I like to do, going back to, let's go back, start from the end, work our way back. We're going to take a look at this 401050 function. Okay, so we'll close that, take a closer look, and actually we're going to maximize this to move along easier. Okay, so we're going to look down. So we have this call here, 00401050. Okay, so everybody agrees that that's the same place. Okay, so we're going to set a breakpoint here. Now, if we wanted to, we could, run this application again. Where'd it go? We're going to type in the stuff. Blah, blah, blah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Run it again. Okay, it's back at our breakpoint. So, yeah, we could hit the step in button, and we could keep doing this. We could keep going and say, oh, look, there's a loop there. It seems to be doing the same thing over and over again. And if you look over here in the memory, you can see things changing. Like, it's taken our input values, and it's doing something, right? Now, if you did this, it would take you all day to figure out what the hell is going on, right? Does anybody have a suggestion for what we might do instead?
Hold down the enter key.
Good. Okay, that's a good enough try. Give that man to reach into the sack. Here at SecKC, even really bad answers are good answers. All right, so
no stupid questions. So, no dumb questions.
Anybody
just
else?
Dumb people.
Hold up for
Try it.
All right. Who can answer? I will buy you a SecKC patch. Answer what F4 does.
Expose him.
He wins. All right, so say it louder. Shout out.
It closes the window. It's like RT.
Oh, shut up, Adam.
Read mail really fast. Slash root.
All right,
That's
I
the
owe
only
you a
thing he
pass.
knows.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Anybody have a guess at a better way to go about this solution?
Set a breakpoint after it.
Okay, a breakpoint after it. We already have a breakpoint right after it. So,
Jump out of the subroutine.
anybody else?
Well, so it's feeding that part of memory, or figure out where it's pulling that information from, and then read it.
Close. All right. So, I don't know if he wants me to say his name. So, Asimodean, we'll give him a reach into the sack if he wants it. Trent, give him a sack reach.
I feel
Give him a sack tap.
Yeah.
All right.
Yellow card right there.
Yeah, that's one.
All right. Okay. The answer that I'm going to use is that we will do what's called a run trace. Okay. So we have our breakpoint. Let's start it back over. We'll run the application. Type in our input 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and we can open up this little window. And if we hit this button, it's going to run over all the instructions until it hits the next breakpoint and dump them all to the screen for you, right? It's really, really useful. But one of the even more useful things is that we can hit this little log to file button.
This is just all
Okay,
buttons.
so we'll just open up a file on the desktop, tell it to log to the file. We're going to hit trace over. If you look down here, you'll see that it's tracing, and eventually it'll hit paused, right? Finished up. So we can click back over to the run trace, and we can see all the instructions that are executed on that sequence of events on the input that I put in, right? So we can figure out what's going to happen with those. Because remember, we're going back to technique. We're not really that concerned about what exactly is happening in this application. What's more useful is for you to go away and say, I want to do a different challenge, and I can use these same steps to try to solve the problem, right? So that's what we're after here. If we go to the desktop now, we will see that there's this rtrace file. It's almost 9K. So we'll go back over here. We will tell it to close the log file. And we will open up our network to our share here. That's not the button I meant to do. Demo failed. We're going to go to the desktop. All right, so that gets us back over to our host machine, because now we've run the application through the debugger. We've gotten to take a look at what's happening. We've dumped the assembly information that's there, and now we want to dig into it, analysis, right? What? You're going to say something, you got to say it out loud.
I said, does he really have zero cool?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a crash override setting?
New names. We have new
That's another
names.
one.
Sorry.
All right, so I'm going to have to set this down to type now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and I mentioned to Joel, we've had a lot of people do this, and you can turn a microphone sideways, and it's...
What?
Well, can you repeat that last? Like, I'm not getting it.
Who's Joel?
Like, you don't have to do this and like pop over your screen.
How do you how do you turn a sphere sideways?
How do you turn a sphere? Okay, so we're gonna go into projects, Flare, what is Ignite? So we have our file here, the rtrace file, and we're gonna take a look.
Question,
Look like.
right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Is there another text editor you should be using right now? I
am going to show you the
vast superiority
Oh.
of the Vim text editor
Shots fired.
during this presentation.
What about Nano?
Can somebody cut the mic?
Talk's over, everyone.
If you take anything away from this talk, it is the fact that Vim is the single best text editor that's ever been made.
All right, hands up. Who uses Vim? Who uses Vim now?
If you use Vim, you're paying them right now.
Okay. All right, continue.
Hey, isn't Vim Rock 13 for Nano?
These are the important questions and why you come to SecKC.
All right, now we're having fun. Okay, so
oh man.
Now that I've had a shot of alcohol, we'll see if I can figure out what the hell these things mean.
Hey, did you turn that sideways?
Okay, so
yeah.
So the next step, when you're starting to take a look at your application and trying to figure out what the hell's going on, you're going to look through these. And honestly, what I do when I'm dead serious about this, when I have an application that I'm trying to tear apart, I will literally go through these one by one and type what exactly it's doing over here on the line next to the instructions. Okay, I'll say, hey, in this case, it's allocating 0C, that's hex, by the way, amount of memory. And it's pushing some information. These are arguments that are going to be called for that function call, right? We're not really here to talk about exactly what those are doing. What we're worried about is the technique of going through, you're going to pull up your search engine, you're going to look at each of these and see, oh, there's an add call. What the hell does that do, right? You're a beginner. You watched Corey's talk. You understood that something's happening, but the computer's doing something, right? It's making stuff happen. It's putting stuff in memory. It's moving it around. You're going to literally look up each one of these calls and write down what it does next to the command, or next to that command. And that way, as you're digging through, you can see kind of what's happening, right? The next step is once I have kind of an idea of what's happening, the prologue, you'll get an idea for what that looks like. But I'll start looking at these memory addresses over here. The main thing that I'm looking for is repetition. Okay, we saw as we were stepping through, anybody, can you tell me what was the thing that I mentioned as we were stepping through that was interesting? Yes. Give him a reach in the sack. All right. So looping. And essentially what that looks like in assembly is that you're going to see the same memory addresses called over and over again. So as we come down here, you'll see that we have gaps because there are going to be calls and jumps and things like that that are going to happen. So we have this from 77 to 82, which looks normal, and it keeps going up. Then we go look down, and oh, look, there's an 82 again, right? So what I'll do for my own sake is just, hey, let's break that up. That looks like it was a repetition. So we'll keep going down and look again. Oh, there's another 82. Does it look the same as the last one, right? There's a 7F that happens just before it, and then it jumps down to 82, 86, 88. 7F, 82, 86, 88. Okay, so I think that's probably the loop.
Well, they're trying to push
we'll keep going through. 82. There's another 82. There's another 82. And, you know, after a while, you see that they're happening, and you just look for the last one. 82. And then we have a 7F. We look at the functions that, or the calls that are made, or the instructions, rather. Let's be technical here, right? This is technical talk.
Hey, somebody said we're going to have technical talk.
We need to be technically accurate so that the guys on YouTube that are going to watch this later can't come back and tear it apart because I said call instead of instruction.
They'll do it anyway.
Yeah, they will.
And I'm going to comment about the Nano thing, don't you worry.
Oh, okay. So we've got 7C, 7F. We've got over here, keep bending down. We don't see 7C, 7F
right? So we have 82, 86. I'm going to kind of take a look at 82, 86, 88 is not existing down here. So that looks like that's the end of our loop. So something happens, and then something else happens. So to make this less painful, I'm going to jump over to the marked up version of that I've already gone through. Right? So let's save that all. But we're going to go into archive, and there's one in here somewhere. Archive. Okay, so, oops, we don't show that. Okay, so this is an equivalent trace, but with some other input that I put in earlier. But you can see that what I did was go in here and just write in the instructions for each of the steps. Allocate 12 bytes of memory. It's going to call that function with those arguments. What's happening with the loop. And then we have loop again. Copy values. We're going to go down to... Okay, so this is the interesting bit of for each of the values that is input, we can see that there's going to be data written to a local value. So here's some information for you. When you see a call into SS and then you have a base pointer -8, the -8 tells you that it's going to some local variable. Okay, if you see a +8 or a +4 or any offset really, and in a lot of cases for arguments there are going to be 4. That means that it's an argument to the function call, and that's just a convention that's used. It's not always the case, but it is an assumption that you can make in a lot of cases. So if you see -8 or -4 or -1, like in this case, we have another variable. It's a 1-byte variable in this case instead of a longer variable that's used in that case. We have some data that's copied in. Let's take a look at our notes here. Actually, we probably need to zoom out. Oh no, I can't figure out how to zoom out.
Computers, right?
There's a zoom somewhere. Zoom. Let's zoom all.
I think you can do that right within Nano, really. I might consider that.
All right, we can zoom in, but we can't zoom out. So why don't we just
minus?
We're gonna quit it. Hey, look, and it does it automatically. Yay for screen. All right. Okay, so we'll see here that we have some data copied into a local variable. If that variable is less than 0, we're going to jump. Then you see that there is a 15 here, and that's based on the length of the argument that I put in. Okay, so you'll see that it's doing some stuff, copies 1 byte from a specific offset in the data segment. So in this case, we have this EDX plus 403078. Now that's interesting information because when you see these data offsets, that means that there's something in the data segment specifically, there's something stored in the application that it's going after, right? Or it's written it to the data segment. But in this case, we haven't seen anything written, but it's pulling something from the data segment and putting it into EAX, right? So we might be interested in looking at that. So this is 403078. We're going to go back into our VM. We're going to take a look at the CPU. And down here is our data that's dumped. 4030 is our offset. 078. So we can scroll down 078. Hey, look. Does anybody recognize these numbers? What do they mean?
How can you see this?
Yeah, the data segment's a little small there.
That's your input, right?
Yeah, so that's the input. So it's copying the input into a value and trying to figure out, it's doing something with it. So that's good to know. So we can switch back. Take a look. Keep moving down. Copy 1 byte from our local variable. This, by the way, the OX4 is set somewhere up here. Okay, so that's not the one I'm looking for. Okay, so that node is not there. We're just going to assume that this value is set to the hex value 04. Okay, it is a static value that's set by the application when it runs. It's literally in the source code. It's going. You'll see if you step through the code, you'll see that it's set statically. So the first thing that happens is it uses that value, and then it XORs that first byte that it copies from an input against that 04. Okay? That value is then used, copied into EDX, and then we have 07 core is the result. So what we know in this case is that there's some data that it's using in the application against the input that we provided, right? So it's masking it somehow. It's using an XOR. Now, who here can answer what XOR does? Anybody?
XOR things. 0,
Okay.
0, 1 is 0,
Yeah.
0, 1,
Right.
1 is 0.
Okay, so what is an interesting property about XOR?
Change reverse false.
Wait.
XOR encryption.
Okay.
When you hand it, it's 0.
That's interesting. Yeah. There you go. It's reversible. It's immediately reversible. Okay? If you can give him another reach into the sack.
No. Take it back, Trent.
If you see that one value is XORed, by the way, it does apply to encryption because XOR is used a lot in encryption, but it is not in itself encryption because it is directly reversible. If you take one value and XOR it by another value, and then XOR it again by either one of the original values, you get the same value back. Like that is how a lot of stream ciphers work. Okay. So in this case, we have data that's stored, that's XORed against your input, and then you get some other data. So what do we do?
Drink?
No ideas? So the data has to be stored somewhere, right? If it's XORing this against it, it's either doing it from like this in this case, the specific value, or it's stored somewhere. So what do? We keep looking through the let's go down to the next iteration and see what happens. So we have we're going to look at the data segment elements. So that's the next tip, right? If you're going through this and you see that something's happening, you want to start looking at anything that's coming from your data segment because that indicates that there's some hard-coded value stored in the data somewhere that it might be using to manipulate the data. In this case, we have this DS403078. We've already looked at that. What is that? Anybody? Anybody remember what 78 was?
Your input.
Input. Give that man a grab into sack. Or he's sack. All right.